go check a pulse.
Republican and Democratic leaders are sharply divided over a deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis. With federal officials and GOP leaders calling it self-defense, Democratic state and local leaders accuse the federal government of using excessive force and spreading misinformation. That divide comes after 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer during a federal immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis. Republican leaders, including President Donald Trump and officials at the Department of Homeland Security, say that the ICE officer involved feared for his life and acted lawfully. Democrats in Minnesota say the shooting was unnecessary, avoidable, and represents a broader failure of federal immigration enforcement. Good was inside her vehicle when the encounter turned deadly. She was later pronounced dead at a hospital. Good was a U.S. citizen and appeared to have no prior encounters with law enforcement beyond a traffic ticket. On her Instagram account, Good described herself as a poet and a writer and a wife and a mom. She was originally from Colorado and wrote that she was, quote, experiencing Minneapolis. Good's ex-husband told the AP that she had just dropped off her 6-year-old son at school and was driving home with her current partner when they encountered a group of ICE agents. Video shows Good's partner following behind federal agents while recording on her phone as they approached Good's red Honda Pilot, which was stopped in the middle of the road. Good's partner later said she didn't immediately realize that shots had been fired, but ran after the vehicle once it sped away and crashed into cars farther up the street. Good's partner was seen crying after the shooting, saying, quote, "I made her come down here. It's my fault." It's unclear whether Good and her partner lived in the neighborhood where ICE was operating. Her partner told a bystander that they were new here and they don't have anyone. Good was a mother of 3, and her ex-husband described her as a devoted Christian. Her mother, Donna Ganger, told the Minnesota Star-Tribune that her daughter was not involved in protests against ICE and called her, quote, "one of the kindest people I've ever known." Federal officials with the Department of Homeland Security say the shooting was an act of self-defense. DHS claims agents believed Good was attempting to use her vehicle as a weapon and accused her of committing an act of domestic terrorism by trying to run over an officer.
I want to reiterate first with all of you the facts of what happened today. At 10:25 a.m. Central Time, Immigration and Customs Enforcement were carrying out lawful operations here in Minneapolis. Because of the adverse weather that Minneapolis has seen in recent snow, one of the vehicles became stuck and ensnared in the snow. Law enforcement were attempting to push out this vehicle, and when a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day began blocking them in, shouting at them, and impeding law enforcement operations. ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism.
The simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who is trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe, against our law enforcement officers.
President Donald Trump echoed that account in a Truth Social post, claiming Good, quote, viciously ran over an ICE officer. But Democratic leaders in Minnesota are forcefully rejecting that version of events. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, after reviewing the video of the shooting, called the federal explanation a garbage narrative and demanded that ICE withdraw from the city entirely.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
Governor Walz also condemned the federal action, calling the fatal encounter predictable and avoidable. He says the Minnesota National Guard has been placed on alert following the escalation.
Very, very difficult for Minnesotans to think in any way this is going to be fair when Kristi Noem was judge, jury, and basically executioner yesterday. It feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because People in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false.
Videos shared online show agents approaching Good's SUV while DHS maintains officers were in danger. Local footage and witness accounts suggest that the vehicle appeared to be moving away, not toward law enforcement. Preliminary information indicates Good was seated in her vehicle, blocking a roadway, when federal officers approached on foot. When the vehicle began to drive away, at least 2 shots were fired and the SUV crashed along the side of the road. Hundreds gathered Wednesday and Thursday for vigils and protests calling for accountability and for ICE to leave Minneapolis.
People want to hit these agents. Some people started throwing snowballs at them. This agent obviously fell and had to be retrieved by his fellow agents as they pulled him back. So this is all unfolding as the anger continues here.
As investigators review what happened, emotions across the city remain high, and the timing of this incident has only intensified the response. Minnesota was already under national scrutiny this week due to ongoing federal fraud hearings investigating the alleged misuse of taxpayer funds.
Did the Walz administration and Democrats intentionally, in your opinion, overlook this fraud while it was happening for political gain? I'll start with you, Ms. Robbins.
Absolutely. We have credible whistleblower reports that the Department of Human Services administration up to the OIG and the commissioner met with a group called the Minnesota Minority Child Care Association multiple times, and that they were trying to weaken protections. We wanted,
Right.
we had several changes we wanted to do, and they opposed all of them.
And Mr. Hudson and Ms. Rarick, and then my time is up.
I would agree.
Absolutely. The whistleblowers confirm it.
I'm not off the rails, please.
You are totally